Hey, hoopballers, are you into sports betting? Do you want to know why a certain game has a funky line? Well, Hoopball has you covered. Today in Sports Betting is a great addition to all your handicapping questions with hosts Ira Silver and Devin Ellington. We break down game lines and future bets on all sports and try to make some money along the way. Follow us on Twitter at Hoopball Gaming, at Ira Silver Magic, and at DALE007. And download Today in Sports Betting in the App Store, Google Play, and available on Spotify.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Patra, joined by my good buddy, Brenton Eckersley, down in Australia to break down this wonderful Monday, September 7th slate for you guys. So we got some good games to jump into. But Brett, my good buddy over there, how are we doing? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good, man. Really good. It's Father's Day here yesterday, so that's different to the States. But, yeah, it's good. Got to hang out with my two boys and my mum, and, yeah, it was a nice afternoon.
What does that entail? Is that like a nice little brunch, a lunch, nice little spread? Did you put them to work?
No, I didn't have to do anything. One of my sons is 19 and he's out on his own with his girlfriend now, which is awesome. And they put together a nice spread for us. I think it's the first time they've entertained. So they did an amazing job. And I came home and had a nap very quickly. As soon as I got home, I was ready for it.
That sounds wonderful, man. If I could draw up a better day, somebody make me a nice little spread, and then I get to come home and take a nap. That's the way I would draw it up. But
how about you, man? How's your weekend?
My weekend was good. I spent some actually, extended weekend. I have Monday off from work, so that is today. We're recording this night before, so I have tomorrow off from work due to the holiday over here in the States. But
what's the holiday?
To be honest, I believe Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, right?
Yeah, Memorial Day. I'm blanking out, and it's terrible. I just know I have a day off. I feel like a child. I feel like a child right now. It's like I just know I don't have school. I don't care. It snowed. I don't whether it's an inch, 5, 7, 8, 9, whatever it may be. That might be something else you're not used to over there. Does it snow in Australia? Ever?
It does, but not in South Australia. It'll snow more in Victoria, which is the next state over to the east in the mountain ranges there. So you can go skiing there. You don't get much of that in SA. If you get snow here, it's like once in a 40-year cycle kind of thing.
Oh, wow, yeah. No, we where I'm from, we get it a little more often than that. I think we had one storm about 4 or 5 years ago where we got about 6 feet of it.
Whoa.
So, it comes down, and the next day it's sunny, but both solid weekends. So I just spent some time with the family, some good time with the friends, little fantasy football action. Got some drafts coming up, so I knocked out one of those. But I'm doing well, man, too, on my slate. So that's the most exciting news. That's what we should be talking about and excited to talk about is that I've been crushing it. I don't like to toot my own horn or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. But for some reason,
said that last time we spoke, you've been killing it. Has that continued?
I'm looking at it right now. I got a lot of Laker exposure. I played way more LeBron than I did Anthony Davis at the beginning of the night. That's doing well. I played a ton of Kyle Kuzma, who has about 18 DK points with 6 minutes, 6:50 left in the third quarter. So he's hit me the value. I had some good old Jay Crowder action in there. I had some Brook Lopez. I played Westbrook, who could be doing a little bit better, but nonetheless, it's not a night that I'm writing home about. But I'm a GPP player, and it's another night that I'm cashing. So, it's anytime that you can even double your money on GPP, you're happy about it because on the nights where you're actually doing what you're looking to do, you're tripling, quadrupling, quintupling, whatever it may be. You're hitting for that home run. So. Nonetheless, it's been a profitable 3, 4, 5 days. I think it was straight now. So, knock on wood. Let's hear it. There it is. That it continues. So we got a good slate to jump into, though. So before we do, just a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor over at Manscaped. Go over there, guys. Use that promo code HoopBall20, HOOPBALL20. Get 20% off plus free shipping off of your entire purchase. And then when you're done with that, you got to be jonesing to bet some games with football right around the corner. First game, American football over here, Brett. We have on Thursday. So, a lot of people are, if they're not, they should be heading over to MyBookie and using that promo code HoopBall. Get 20% off. Get a free deposit match if you use the promo code HoopBall. Put in $100. They'll give you $100. You bet on that game, whoever it may be, whether you're looking at the Chiefs, Texans. It is a wonderful site and platform with an excellent customer service. So check them out. But we will jump right into this. We have Boston versus Toronto in this game. Series has been tied up 2-2 at the moment. And we have Boston being favored by 1. I apologize. Boston being favored by 1 in this game with a 212 over, under, or game total. I apologize. So I'll pass it over to you on this one, Brenton. With the Boston Celtics, it's kind of been getting bounced around between these main 3 guys. But why don't you talk about some of the guys that you're attracted to in this game?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of expect Boston to bounce back a bit here. They've lost the last 2, I believe, and I think they'll probably get themselves back on track. Look, I'm actually finding this slate a little difficult. I think the pricing, especially, I'm looking at DraftKings pricing as I usually do, so that we can keep it international. I'm finding that the pricing is very, very fair, and it's fair across the 2 games and across all 4 teams. So there is a little bit of you're going to hear me juggling between a few guys because everyone's pretty much priced around what I'd expect them to be for what they're doing. So it does make it a tough lineup, and we're going to have to dig deep and probably enter multiple lineups to get the goods here. So if we just start straight at point guard with Kemba, here's a guy who's kind of bouncing back and forth between low 30 DK points and mid 40 DK points, and that here's the perfect example. So 8K, that makes that salary. Is he going to come out and score 30 or is he going to come out and score 47? It's actually really tough. It makes him a little risky at 8,000. But really, the salary is probably pretty nice for any premium point guard. He's capable of dishing out double figure assists any night and getting to the line. The other thing is that he did have low shot attempts in Game 4. So Game 5, I'd expect him to get the shot attempts back up there and hopefully the shots fall. So not too bad on Kemba, but honestly, I'd probably be looking on the other side of the ball to the Raptors guards. I'll jump into another one and then you can take over. Jaylen Brown, look, honestly, at the moment, he's just underperforming a little bit, and 7,500 is usually a pretty good price for Jaylen. And who knows? We could expect a bounce back game here, and he's going to leave me in the dust. But that's fine. At the moment, I'll probably let him beat me. Who are you looking at on the Celtics?
So, Kemba, I think, we've done several shows together, I think, with Kemba in playoffs already. I played him here and there, but at 8K, I haven't been playing him too much, just the whole knee soreness. He's playing a ton of minutes, but there's guys that he could defer to. And at 8K, you said it, Toronto guys, the backcourt has been, the most attractive thing for me in this playoffs. I've been playing, Van Fleet and Lowry left and right, so I don't mind him. I probably prefer those other guys over him. Jaylen Brown, I'm looking for a good bounce back game from him here. I don't mind looking at Jaylen. Especially knowing, again, I always talk about small forward eligibility because it's an ugly position, but he's playing a boatload of minutes. Struggled in the last one, only 4 of 18. Couldn't hit a 3-point shot to save his life. Shot 2 of 11 from deep. Didn't do much as far as peripheral stats, not even an assist, but it's a key cog. They need him. They really do genuinely need him. So my number 1 play is Tatum, though. That's the guy I'm going to be looking at. Does that mean I'm going to be playing a boatload and a ton of them? Probably not a boatload and a ton of them. I mean, if we get the word that Jokic is playing, at a very similar price tag, to a healthy Jokic, I prefer. Dealing with the sprained wrist, we'll get to that game in a little bit, but it's tough. I do have interest in Tatum. If Jokic is playing, I will play Jokic over him, even with the sprained wrist, just because I think people will shy away from that. They'll deal with the questionable tag. And let's be real, these games have been lower scoring. This is a tough defensive matchup for both teams. So it's not like we can sit here and expect these games to just sit here and be like a 120 to a 125 type game like we've been seeing in the next series. These games have pretty much been hovering right around like a 210 game total. And when it's that kind of scenario, I don't just necessarily say like I like I can't like all these guys. It's only a 210 game total. I have to pick and choose. So I probably won't play too much Kemba Walker. I'll probably have a couple of shares of Jason Tatum, and I think Jaylen Brown's my favorite option out of all three of them.
Yeah, cool. So I'm kind of like you. I'm leaning a little bit away from Tatum when you can, get up to Kawhi or Jokic at a little bit more money. I think those guys are going to return better value. As you mentioned, both defenses here are really strong. Makes it tough when, as I mentioned, a lot of these prices are right around the mark. We all know that Tatum's capable of 55 to 60 or even further north than that DK point games, but he just hasn't been hitting the three ball in the series. He's 2 of 5, 1 of 4, and 1 of 6 in the last three of the in 3 of the last 4 Raptor matchups. So that's the Raptors being able to defend the 3-point line really well, and so that limits a little bit of upside for Tatum. I'm probably steering away from him as well.
Yeah, for me with Tatum, it's all about how aggressive he's going to be. If he gets to the free throw line, he's good. It's the games that we see him get the 55 and 60 DK points. He's at the free throw line 10 plus times. And when that happens, we're cake. And, this team, they just dropped 2. You've got to understand that they know they need to ride Tatum. That's my mentality behind this. They're going to go to their go-to options, and Tatum knows he needs to be aggressive. He needs to be the difference maker in this series. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting for him just to kind of kick it up a notch with things getting a little bit tighter now and getting back to the free throw line. And if that's the case, he can definitely get that 60. Now, do I fully expect that to happen? We've seen plenty of times where it doesn't, and we do have other options we could go to. So if I'm playing 10 lineups, again, I'll probably have Jokic in. If Jokic was playing, obviously, 4 or 5 lineups, and I'd have Tatum in 3, maybe, probably about 3. And, obviously in the other 2, it would have neither one of them. But anybody else on Boston? Anybody like Marcus Smart or Tice, or are you just ignoring those guys?
No, you can't ignore them completely because we have to find value somewhere. Like, we've only got a 2-game slate. There's high-priced guys on the board. Can't just go picking 4 high prices, Mike, or you're going to be stuck with nobodies who don't play any minutes. So we've got to find value somewhere, and Daniel Tice is one of those guys for me. He's only center eligible, which, means you basically stuck playing him center or taking up that utility spot on DK. But if you're not going to pay up for Jokic, and especially if Jokic is out, then you've got to find a center. And Tice is pretty much a safe floor type of play for me. He's averaging right around 27 DK points versus the Raptors in this series. He did have a big outing, though, that's bumped that average up. So game 1, he scored 38 DK points, and he's probably not going to get that done. But for me, the minutes are there at the moment, 26, 30, that type of outing on the floor is good. The field goal attempts are there, and rebounds. He gets rebounds every time he goes out there. So, look, he's not going to burn you, that's for sure. So if you're looking for a bit of value, you can look at Daniel Tice.
So I don't mind Tice. I've actually played Tice a fair amount in playoffs so far, just because basically they don't trust Enes Kanter. Robert Williams is incredibly athletic, but as a young guy, you make mistakes. Tice they trust. The only issue I run into with Tice is just we'll get into the next game where I think there's some better power forward eligible guys for even cheaper salary. That I do prefer. And that's kind of where he comes into play for me, because I don't love him at center, but I do like him at power forward. And then I look at some of those guys from Denver, whether it's, Jeremy Grant or my newfound love, Paul Millsap, that I've been making some money off of, who I'll probably continue riding into the sunset. These guys just being a little bit cheaper, and, the floors feel pretty similar, but we've been seeing, I think, higher upside from the other guys. So I don't knock it. I think it's a good. You say you trust him in cash. I'm looking at it where I think he's a better tournament play than cash, just because he's $500-600 more expensive than these other guys, with actually a lower average over the past 3 games. Not 4, like you said. That first game we saw that upside. So that's kind of where I put him in that GPP pool, because we know that upside's up there at 38 points, but we're seeing that average and that median, that floor, just be a little bit lower than I'd like to see to completely trust him at that salary. If he was at that $4,800 range, he'd be a lock and load, the guy that I'm playing pretty much in every lineup type of guy.
Okay, cool. What about Robert Williams? I mean, he's quite a bit cheaper. I think he's 3,800 here. He's getting the minutes. He's getting some minutes, enough to kind of get that salary or make it to that salary. Are you playing any Robert Williams?
It just has to work for me. I'm not going out of my way to play him. It's just a very capped upside, a very capped ceiling. I mean, the best case scenario for him is that, a guy like Tice gets into foul trouble really early, like 3 before the first quarter kind of thing. And then he obviously would sniff his way onto the court, but it's not enough, for me. Like, it's not even like he's 3K mid salary, 3,800. I'm looking for 20. That's, if I'm playing GPPs, I want 20 from you. I know 2 game slate, we're not expecting 6, 7, 8x from all of our value plays, but when you're talking 3,800, I need 20 from you, and he hasn't hit 20 outside of that first game against Toronto. So I don't think I'll end up getting onto him. If it makes it works at the end of the day and in my lineup, then sure, why not, here and there. But now, if you're playing single entries or just building one lineup, he's probably not going to make my build.
No, I'm probably the same, and it comes down to minutes. Like, he plays well, performs well and gets points per minute, but when he's capped at around 14 or 18, it's tough. I think you're right. If someone else gets into foul trouble or for some reason he's out there for 22, 25, then he'll get to value.
All right, man. Let's slide over to Toronto. We'll start with this backcourt between Lowry and Van Vliet. Do you prefer one over the other?
I think it's got to be Lowry at the moment. I reckon his floor is right around where Freddie Van Vliet's ceiling seems to be right at the moment. So Lowry's just playing out of his mind. He's everywhere on the court. He's falling all over the place. He's chasing loose balls. He's pestering people, and he's getting his shots as well. So, yeah, I love Kyle Lowry at 8,200. In this series, he's dished out 8 assists, 7 assists, 8 assists, and 7 assists, and that just keeps those fantasy stats rolling over beautifully. He's also pulled down 6 boards, 5 boards, 6 boards, and then 11 in the last one. So for a guy who's 8,200 and in game 3 got up 23 shot attempts, you just can't go past him. It's just too cheap for what he's doing at the moment. I love Freddie. I love the way Freddie plays. I reckon he's one of the most improved players in the league. And the thing that I love about him is he's aggressive, but he knows his limits, and he doesn't, it's rare that you see Freddie Van Vliet make a really silly play. He just knows his limits and knows what he's capable of. I'm paying up for Lowry in this one.
I'm with you. I've been riding the Lowry train for the past few days, past few games, and he's just hitting playoff mode Lowry, where he is going to, like you said, be that scrappy guy that does every single thing he needs to do. He does a few things that Van Vliet doesn't do. The guard blocks randomly here and there, the extra rebounds here and there. Van Vliet, he does get those double-digit assists. He could go on a hot scoring night, and Lowry could do that well. But Lowry just has a little bit more oomph, I guess, to get you to a bigger game. So I love both these guys. I'll keep playing. I'll continue playing both these guys. I'll mix and match. Obviously, Van Vliet gets you that shooting guard eligibility that Lowry doesn't. If that's the case, it makes sense. A little bit of a discount. But otherwise, I'm with you. I prefer Lowry more. And I'm not touching Siakam. I just can't do it, man. I just watch him play, and he just looks, out of sorts. The dude played 46 minutes in the last game and just got 42 DK points. I mean, that sounds like great and all, but, I love the amount of minutes he's playing. That's fantastic, but he is struggling. So he makes sense in GPPs. I'm not going to tell you not to play him. It's only a 2-game slate. It's hard to just X somebody out completely. But for like those single entries, like I said, I'm not playing Siakam. Okay,
look, I'm looking at it a little differently. He had a terrible shooting night and still got to 42 DK points. So for 8,100, if he actually starts making some shots from further away from the basket, he's actually just going to tear through that for me. I'm not centering, my builds around him. I just think that there is enough upside in Pascal, as we all know. He's been off, no doubt about it. I just think that really at that power forward position, it's kind of pay up for Tatum, which you want to do, or pay up for Siakam, which is, I think, $1,200 less. I just think that maybe Siakam saves you some money and allows you to spend up elsewhere if you wanted to grab your Kyle Lowrys or your Freddie VanVleets or your Kemba Walkers at that higher price, and then not have to just pack in rock bottom basement guys around it. So look, there's an argument for both. I'm not really shying away from Pascal. I think he's got a decent game coming. I think he's looked a little bit better. Maybe I'm wrong. But when the power forward options drop away underneath these two guys, Tatum and Siakam, to like Anunoby or Jeremy Grant or Morris, I'm probably pivoting a little bit between Tatum and Siakam in my lineups.
I'm not going to knock you for that, dude. I mean, let's be real. If this dude was playing like he was playing throughout the entirety of the regular season, he'd be a lock and load at 8,100 playing 46 minutes. We know he has it in him, bottom line. He could have that game. I've just been soured slightly, so I'm not going to sit here and say I won't have shares. I'll probably have in those shares of lineups where I'm not playing a guy like Lowry, and maybe I'm playing Jaylen Brown as my other exposure on Boston. And then I'll play like Tatum with Lowry. You can mix and match things like that. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll probably have like him in like one or two, but I'm not feeling entirely comfortable. And then you just kind of gave your thoughts on Serge. It sounds like you're going to be playing him a little bit, and I'm not going to fault you at that 5,900. It's a very fair price tag. The minutes have been down as of recently. But this is, a big going against Boston. We know that they're susceptible to centers. 5,900 now that he's under that 6K mark, we can stomach that price tag. He was like 65 at some point, so I couldn't play him there at 59. I do have a little interest though. So
yeah, I've got plenty of interest in Serge Ibaka at that price. Pretty much Toronto are busy guarding. Boston are busy guarding the little guys and a little bit of Siakam as well. So while that's been happening, Serge Ibaka just stands outside. He gets his boards as well, but he is just standing at the top of the key and launching, and he's hitting. So 5,900, slight reduction in minutes in the last couple, but still a pretty safe play. I think he's one of these guys that we can look at to find that little bit of mid to low price salary to get some good value and get up to some other guys.
Yeah, and Marc Gasol just has been able to stay out of foul trouble. I think he, fouled out in 2 out of the 4 games already during this series. So, Ibaka should continue to just see steady minutes. I think 22 is the floor. If Gasol gets in foul trouble early, all of a sudden Ibaka's looking at 26, and it may sound foolish, but 4 minutes makes a big difference when you talk about a guy like that. And then I guess the only other 2 people really worth talking about would be OG and Norman Powell, the 2 wing guys. They basically use Powell when they're trailing and they need points. But OG has been the guy on Tatum and basically doing his best efforts and keeping him in check. So at 5,700 though, a little bit of an expensive price tag. Any interest in him?
Yeah, he's bumped up a full $1,000 from the last start, I think. And, at the start of this series, he was 4,700. So now he's at 5,700. It makes him harder to play him, but he's a fairly safe option at the moment. He's shooting well, not to mention game winners. We need value somewhere from these ancillary guys on the board. So, again, he's another guy who's not going to burn you. He's probably not going to win you a lineup either unless he has a crazy night shooting from 3 or something like that. But look, if you're looking for that kind of flyer, I think there's other guys to look at. If you're looking for kind of a safe floor at the moment, then it's OG.
Yeah, I don't mind him. Not my favorite play for the price. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I think he's being a little overinflated, and he's the type of guy, like if I am playing a guy like Siakam, I'm not playing OG. I'm looking for one of those guys to really hit the rebounding upside that they could, and they'll cut into each other. Generally, we'll see one of the other guys rebound. We'll see Ibaka get his. We'll see Gasol get his in limited minutes. Lowry once in a while breaks out from the guard position, but when you're thinking about just the ancillary long rebounds, usually it's going to be Siakam or OG grabbing those, and I just don't like to generally pair those 2 guys together. All right, brother.
Yeah.
Marc Gasol, we're not going to even talk about it anymore. He's done.
Yeah, I'm not touching him, and I'm not going near Norm either.
Yeah, as the host of the show, I refuse to let. No. In all reality, man, he's been burning me, and I had him. I had him on that one game where he had 22, and I've never been so excited about just hitting value in my life after playing so much Marc Gasol. We'll slide over to the next game, though. We have the Clippers going against Denver. This game is coming in at a 219 game total, with the Clippers being favored by 9 points. We'll start off with this Clippers team, considering that we saw some struggles from them in that last one. Series now all tied up. Kawhi Leonard, key topic at 10-3. He struggled from the field, shot 4 of 17. But I'm kind of looking at him from the same aspect as that you were looking at Siakam. Like, this dude just shot 4 of 17 and still put up 45 DK points. So
exactly.
I love Kawhi Leonard. I do not mind him whatsoever. I will play him on this slate. And even with $2,000 more than Paul George, I like them both. But I still see myself having a little bit more Kawhi Leonard.
I'm exactly the same here. Like, you took the words out of my mouth. Exactly. My starting point here was 4 from 17, I think it was, you said, and 45 DK points. How the hell does that happen? It's just crazy. So, if he goes back to shooting 12 of 16 from the floor, and keeps his rebounds and assists up like he did in that game the last time out, then he could do anything here, and 65, 70 is not out of the question. So I reckon we get the claw game where he just bounces back and puts the whole package together, because he's a proud man, and he won't have liked what he dished out in the last game. For me, it's balancing lineups or switching lineups between him and the other high price guy on the slate that we get to later in Jokic. So I think anything's possible here for Kawhi. Lock him in.
Absolutely. And then we'll talk about some of these ancillary guys with Lou Williams, 5,800. Finally starting to see that price dip a little bit. And now that price is dipping, Brenton, I have a little interest. I'm not going to go overboard on Lou Will, but at 5,800, I think that's a nice price tag where, maybe you are spending up on the guy like Jokic. You want to go for a guy that can still get his own buckets in this game. I think in those kinds of circumstances, I can see myself playing some Lou Will at 5,800.
Why not? I mean, and like we've already mentioned, you've got to get value. So a guy who can go out and put up 30 actual points in limited time, or maybe 25, maybe that's a little carried away. But
I get 30. We'll give him that 30.
You reckon he's getting 30? All right, we'll lock him in for 30. No. End of conversation. We're done here. No, move on.
Fair enough.
No, man. I don't know. I like we were saying 5,800. I think he's definitely capable of that, dude. He's point guard, shooting guard eligible, and yeah, I think there's mid price guy. There's few options at point guard, shooting guard for that tonight. So definitely worth a look.
Well, when you're talking on a 2-game slate too, and you're trying to separate yourself in the GPP, he's a guy you want to look for, because he goes out there and at 5,800, he puts up, let's say, 33 DK points, maybe 34. We'll love that value. We'll take that all day. But you're also talking about how he can, possibly outscore guys that are, 15, 2K more than him in the previous game, who people are going to have ownership on. And I'm talking about, your Kembas, your Jaylen Browns. We've seen these guys get, 32, 31. And then you have that saving. So on a 2-game slate, he makes a lot of sense for me, especially, at that price tag. Now that he's below that 6K mark, a little hard to stomach. Yes, Patrick Beverley's back. He's not playing full minutes, and I don't care. I just want this guy to chuck off the bench. I saw those shot attempts in the last game, and it just gave me that nice taste in my mouth of what Lou Williams could do. But let's switch over to the front court on this team between Zubac and Harrell and Morris, these 3 guys. All fair price tags between 4,500 and 5,100. Zubac falling in the middle at 49. Any one of these guys in the front court, you see yourself playing?
Oh man, you could toss a coin here. Really, it's tough to work out what's going to happen with Zubac and Harrell. I like Harrell for GPP tournaments because he's got the potential to explode. We saw it a few games back. I think he scored 38 DK points, and priced at 4,500. He's more been around that level, but this is Montrezl Harrell. He's an animal when he's on the court, and when he gets in that mood, anything can happen. the only thing here is I just keep seeing other guys on the slate, and it's just I don't know, maybe other guys that is a touch lower where we could save some salary staying away from Harrell, maybe looking at someone who's $600 or $700 cheaper. But again, if you're looking for GPP upside, it's Harrell. If it's a cash kind of play, then it's Zubac for me. It's 4,900. It's more expensive, but you probably got a safer floor with Zubac than you do with Harrell. What do you think?
I think for me, when it comes to Harrell, at this point, the way that they're playing him, I mean, let's be real. They want to play him as many minutes as possible, but when you're talking about playing your studs like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, literally as many minutes as these guys could possibly play, and we're talking Kawhi getting close to 40 and playing 40 a couple times. There's not that many minutes left, and these dudes do play the 4 once in a while. So for me, I like Harrell in the scenarios where I'm leaning heavily on that first game. If I have 5 guys, maybe 6 guys, I'm looking for a couple of one-off pieces in that last game, almost game scripting, like it is going to get out of hand. Those are the scenarios I really like to play Harrell, because this dude, game gets out of hand, give him the fourth quarter, and he's going to probably put up 10 points alone in the fourth quarter. So he's still there in other circumstances. I just have a little less confidence in him. And that's like what you said with Zubac. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense for those cash games. And then Morris, small forward, power forward eligible, a guy that's floating around that 5K price tag, knowing he's playing, 27, 30-something minutes. I do have interest in Morris. I don't mind playing him. He runs into the little roadblock with some of those Denver guys we'll get to in a minute. He's very close price tag, and very, 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 very split on that at the moment. But I do have some interest in Morris. But are you looking at anybody else as far as your JaMychal Green after that big game, or Patrick Beverley maybe gets a little bit of a minutes increase?
Yeah, I've got a little interest in both of those guys, and it's all about salary. If you want to play Kawhi and, let's say, Lowry or mix up a couple of the bigger guys, again, got to find value somewhere. So like 3,600 for JaMychal Green. He's played 21 minutes and 26 in the last 2, which is, enough to get to value when he's out there that many. He dragged down 5, 7, and 11 rebounds, and he's a pretty good value play at 3,600. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think I prefer Green over Beverley. I don't think I'm going to play Beverley until the minutes restriction gets lifted a little bit. As of right now, he's still going to be on a restriction. They have not said what that entails, but I imagine it being like 20 at the most. And at that price tag, I mean, it's not expensive. It's a good price tag. Don't get me wrong, but at 20 minutes, I can't really have the confidence in him. So, all right, we'll slide over to the Denver side of the ball, and we'll start with the backcourt. Jamal Murray, 8,900. What are your feelings on him compared to some of these other guys like your Kyle Lowry's, your Fred VanVleets, and your Kemba Walker?
I'm a little bit on the fence at the moment. I haven't dug into it enough to make a real decision yet, but just on the surface, 8,900 for Jamal. He's up against the Clippers. It's a different game here than against the Jazz, and at the moment I'm just leaning towards the Lowrys and the Freddies and the Kembas at the lower salary. So the one key component here though is if Nikola Jokic sits, then I probably want more Murray. I think you've actually kind of gone against me on that before. It's just all about usage though. So I want Murray if Jokic is out, because who else is going to score on this Denver Nuggets team if it's not Jokic? It has to be Murray. So that's where the 8,900 salary will be a sweet spot for me, and I'll definitely have more of him in my lineups.
That's the only chance I play him. If Jokic sits, I will play Murray, 100%. I'm not going to say I'm going to 100% lock him in, but I will definitely play him. If not, I will not play him at that. I prefer Kyle Lowry, $700 cheaper. That's just, the way I've been playing things all day. I might lose, once out of every 3 times, but for the most part in this matchup, I anticipate that will work more often than not. So I will continue riding that train. But you're right. If Jokic is out, pure usage standpoint, Murray will absorb a ton of it. Obviously, we'd have a lot of other guys. We'll probably talk about a lot of guys in the Nuggets, because I think this is where we're going to get most of our value from, especially if Jokic sits up. If Jokic plays 9,700, I kind of already gave my thoughts on him. I like him. I always like playing, especially in GPPs. Maybe not in cash games. I will totally understand if you want to just ease on the side of caution. You want to play a guy with a wrist injury, but for your tournaments, getting a guy with a questionable tag, having people scared off of him, knowing the upside that this dude has. We've seen it time and time again. The matchup's a good one. Really dominated in that last one, putting up 61 DK points. Give me more of that. Sign me up. I've been playing Jokic, and I will continue playing Jokic in this series.
Yeah, cool. I mean, the questionable tag is the only thing here for me. At 9,700, you play the Joker all day. He had a terrible game in game one, but we've got to keep in mind the scoreline there. It was just a horrible game for the Nuggets all round. They looked like they were still had their heads in the Jazz tournament. So they came out, they were probably fatigued and not ready for the Clippers, and we saw a much better game from them in the second game. So hopefully we get that Jokic, the switched on, focused, aggressive and defensive Jokic, and if we do get that, and I expect that we get that, 9,700's just a walk in the park. That's 47 DK points. He can do that with one arm tied behind his back. And yeah, I'm happy to build 40% of my lineups around Nikola here, and spread the other side to Kawhi and maybe a little bit of Tatum.
Hey, I love it. And then, this is where I'm looking at like the sweet spot, I guess, of the slate, and it's going to be trying to divvy up your ownership and who you like between Jeremy Grant and Paul Millsap. And, I've been playing myself some Paul Millsap ever since this series started. I talked about it against the Jazz. It just was not the right series for Paul Millsap. He's going to struggle against Joe Ingles at power forward. Jeremy Grant made more sense. Well, now we're talking about a team that does play Marcus Morris a little bit at the 4. That makes a little sense for Paul Millsap to match up against him. 2 games over at least 24 minutes. In that last one, he played 32 minutes, but we're talking back-to-back games with at least 20 DK points. In that first one, he had 33. I do have some interest in Paul Millsap, even more so if we're talking Jokic is out, but he's a guy that I'm looking at, and we're talking, value on the slate, and he is a guy that I keep gravitating towards just because I know he has that 30-plus point upside. And a decent floor where he can get me by. So, do you prefer one over the other?
No, I think they're both great value. As you mentioned, Millsap's minutes are back up in this series compared to the last one. He got up 11 shot attempts in game 2, got to 32 minutes as well. And yeah, you can absolutely use him as a value play. And on the other side of the coin, I think Jeremy Grant's still in there as well. If he's going to play 40 minutes against anybody, I'll take him at this salary. The minutes are up. Terrible shooting night in game 2 with 1 from 9 from the field and 0 from 5 from behind the arc, but he still got to 28 DK points there. So that's because he's a very versatile defender and can handle the ball. Can pass the ball through his hands a little bit in the offense, and if he gets his shot back in this one and plays 40 minutes, then 5,200 is smash territory.
I'm with you. I like both these guys. I think I'll get good shares of both of them. The only way I'm playing Porter Jr. is if we see Jokic is ruled out. They're going to need some offense. In that case, I think Porter Jr. will absorb a ton of it and probably see 14, 15 shot attempts if Jokic is ruled out. If he's not touching them, that's just me. I'll let you give your thoughts on him. But then the other guy I wanted to talk about is my boy Gary Harris, who's starting to see those minutes continue to rise. I played 29 in that last one, 24 in the game prior to that. So 4,100. He's a guy that I could see, people going to for some value. But I wanted to get your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I think 4,100's cheap for any starter. He's definitely going to be needed out there. There's been a bit of talk about the Nuggets defense, and I tell you what, with Gary Harris back in the lineup, it looks a whole lot better. They got Jeremy Grant and Gary Harris running around defending, 2 of the best players in the NBA, and they just look a lot better. So while the minutes are there, the value is there. He has to make shots fall to kind of get to this value, but he can do that on any given night. It was only 2 or 3 seasons ago I think he was second scoring for the Nuggets for the whole season or something like that. So, at the moment, he's definitely focused defensively, but 4,100 and higher minutes, yep, absolutely, I can play him. Your mic's muted, dude.
You are the best in the world. Yeah. So a legend, and nonetheless, I got caught. I got a little bit of a sweat going on right now in FanDuel. I played a good amount of Rondo on FanDuel right now, and he's got 5 steals and 37 TK points FanDuel points with 8 minutes left in the game. I have a good amount of players in this game. I'm sitting on pretty decent lineup with Rondo, LeBron, Kuzma, PJ Tucker, and Russell Westbrook still left in this game. Already cashing. Well over 335 DK points right now is where I'm at. And I'll probably finish with 8 minutes left. I'm hoping around that somewhere between 360, 370 would be wonderful. But we'll keep the fingers crossed. Got decent little sweat. Nothing major.
Cool, man. Cool.
But
where are you ranked at the moment?
Let's double check this right now without taking too much time out of listenership. I am in 150th place in a $9 GPP, and I was actually at a party before, so I only threw 3 in this one. Out of let me get this, make sure I got this right. 9,000, I believe. So doing fairly well. We'll see.
We're rooting for you, man. Let's get you home.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be one of those ones that takes home anything gold, but I did a fair amount of research. I just didn't have enough time to put them all together when I would like to. So I only managed to get 3 or 4 that I confidently felt really good about, and they're all 3 or 4 cashing. It's just this one is doing much better than the rest.
Baby.
Yeah, let's hope so. But I think that's play Mason Plumlee if Jokic is rolled out. Don't even think twice about it.
Oh yeah,
it's that simple. That's a free square if he does sit. So that I don't think we need to speak too much on that. You know what I mean? It is what it is right there. Just eat that free square. But anything else you want to leave some of these listeners with before we take off?
No, man. I think we covered everything nicely.
I always do. I think we always do, man. Especially when we're getting that chemistry going over here. We may be 13 hours away, but we're in sync. We're in sync right now.
Ocean, brother.
All right, guys. Well, if you have a quick moment, just go give us a quick follow on Twitter. Don't even follow me. Go follow Brenton. That's where the good information's at. I sit there. I retweet stuff here and there, and I'm always willing to answer some questions. But this guy's crushing it in multi-sports. He's even giving you some AFL stuff. So, Brenton, why don't you let the good people know where they can find you?
Yeah, on Twitter you can find me at Terrain72, so TERRAIN 72.
Absolutely, and if you want to, you can find me at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria, and then go give us a nice little follow or subscribe to us on YouTube, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes, available all over the place. Nice little thumbs up, 5-star. Means a lot to us. Allows us to keep the lights on over here. Lets our presenting sponsors know that we are doing good things for them as well. And it allows us to take that constructive criticism or just that good old positive feedback and apply it to this podcast for you guys. We just want to turn out some really good product for you guys. So we will be back tomorrow night. You'll hear Santino hosting the show. I have the night off, but let's continue crushing, man. I mean, I hope some of our listeners have been able to cash in. Generally, when I'm doing well, I just hope that and imagine that our listeners are too, because I try to only recommend some of the guys that I'm really gravitating towards. So that is all we have for you from everybody over here at Hoopball. Thank you guys for listening. Let's go out there and crush some GPPs.
This has been a Hoopball presentation.